Mark laid a comforting hand against Jack's neck. Mark knew from enough experience that Jack's throat was most likely coated in the hot sauce by now, which only meant if he truly wanted to end this, he would throw in the towel now. No matter how badly it hurt him to say, Mark lightly pressed his fingers into Jack's throat to feel his pounding heartbeat, after which he asked Jack once more, "I'm waiting, Jack. Anything you'd like to say to me?" Jack's eyes were so watery in the dim candlelight that it made his blue eyes glint like the ocean when he briefly shot him a scowl. However, Jack's heartbeat told Mark a different story. Smoking, Mark removed himself off the bed and topped off his glass of ice-cold water. Perspectioning, sliding down the clear glass cup as Mark took a sip, all the while staring down Jack as he did it. Jack's lips trembled for a moment as he watched, before he turned away, groaning softly. Prying another ice cube from the glass, Mark very lightly touched Jack's cheek with it. Jack flinched at first, until he realized it was an offering. There was a simple reason Mark had used the hot sauce on Jack, and he was just waiting for it to take effect now. Mark gently slid his hand up along Jack's bare, lean, muscular arms, wiping away the dried, flaky bits of candle wax, before releasing him from the restraints. Jack's wrists were red and no doubt would be bruised by morning, but he was otherwise all right. Jack propped himself up onto his elbows, looking confused as to why he had released him from the cuffs. Mark backed away from the bed to lean against the far wall, pushing a nice sturdy wooden desk chair toward him with his foot. Jack didn't move, and Mark heard him bite into the ice cube with mistrust. Mark took another sip from his bottle before gesturing towards the pizza boxes, saying warmly, "Go on. Call this an intermission. I'm sure you're starving." Jack turned his eyes to the pizza boxes and his stomach growled. Letting out a foul curse, Jack snapped out, I don't know what you're up to, Mark, but I don't trust you." Mark leaned his head back against the cold wall, casually telling him, "I'm not asking you to trust me. I just thought, at the very least, you'd want a drink. Don't make me change my mind." Jack tentatively slid off the bed to pour himself a glass of water and nearly drank down the whole picture. Mark closed his eyes, tempting Jack to try and make a run for it. Although, to Mark's surprise, Jack tried something else. Jack's throat was feeling a little better, but not by much. He couldn't believe Mark would deliberately set him up for this. If he had known Mark was into this kind of play, he would have tried a lot harder to dominate him, make him pay for all the embarrassment he had suffered. Jack quietly pulled open a drawer to the cart when he noticed Mark wasn't looking and grinned. Perfect. He just had to get close enough. Trying not to draw attention to himself, Jack crept closer to where Mark stood. All he had to do was distract Mark long enough to slip them on him. Quickly, before Mark could open his eyes, Jack pressed his lips against Mark's. Mark stiffened in hesitation, clearly caught off guard, and that's when Jack made his move. Raising his hands, Jack clamped the nipple clamps down on Mark's nipples and slammed his thumb on the button. Mark didn't even flinch. Instead, Mark gently pushed Jack back until he dropped onto the wooden chair and yanked the wires to the clamps off his nipples. There was amusement in his dark tone as he leaned in over the chair, telling him, "They only work when it has batteries, much like this one." Mark removed the small remote from his pocket, and Jack reached out to grab it. But Mark pushed him back against the chair. The setting was on low, but it felt different than before. It felt relaxing. Like, it wasn't just vibrating his pulse rate anymore, but his every muscle. Arching back in the chair, Jack gripped the seat of the chair, wailing out loudly, "Mark, what did you do?" Mark pried Jack's hands off the seat and forced them behind the chair, tying them up to the wooden chair supports. All the while whispering softly against his ear, side effect of the hot sauce. It releases a lot of endorphins. Feels good, doesn't it? Relaxing even. Gives you a rush of heightening feelings. Jack swallowed hard and stared into those unforgiving dark chocolate eyes. Mark had planned for something like this. Only now, Mark was gearing him up for a whole new level of it. Mark watched Jack tug against the rope restraints with a smile. Even with Jack's thin wrist, there was no way he was going to escape it. His father had taught him how to tie knots too well. Once Mark was positive that Jack couldn't get free, Mark pushed the chair over into the center of the room, then went back to his cot to remove a set of batteries, cheerfully telling Jack, "Since you took an interest in this, I'm going to show you how they work." Jack nervously chuckled and clamped his legs together tightly, squealing out, "You don't have to. I'm pretty sure I have seen it used before." Mark slowly approached, leaning down to Jack's eye level to smugly sprout, That may be true, but it has been used on you, now has it?" Feeling cheeky, Jack piped up as the vibrator started working him into a hard-on again. "And if I say it was?" Mark only smirked, before dropping down to his knees and forcing Jack's legs apart. Despite his fight to keep them closed, slipping in between Jack's legs, Mark moved in to lick Jack's pale pink nipple. When it was poked up enough, Mark clamped on the first clamp. Then he went on to licking the second, nice and slow, all the while listening to Jack moan and groan out his weak attempts to stop him from continuing. Jack had told him many times that he was scared of being shocked, but that's only because he had never experienced it from someone he could trust. Mark would show him. To be continued.